Google was telling pregnant women to eat rocks or something, wasn't it? But that was another AI feature that went out too early.
Hello and welcome to OffScript. Today we're doing the 2024 Developer Roundup. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been a year.
An audible sigh as we start.
2024 was a year.
It was a bit much, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I coasted on fumes over the finish line, I think, to get to Christmas. I'm not sure about yourself.
Yeah, I don't know if I noticed the finish line.
No. Where does it start? Where does it end? Who knows?
That's it.
Did you have a good break?
It was a nice break. Back to it on Monday officially, but yeah, I've done a few bits and pieces on some calls today.
Lovely.
But yeah.
You're the only person that I know that says, I've not worked yet today, and you've done like 3 or 4 calls already or something. Right.
That's not work though for me.
No.
Yeah,
that's true.
That gets in the way of work.
Meetings kill productivity.
Yeah.
Nice. Was it a restful break for you? Did you get any other hobby items done?
Did some decorating, did some cooking.
Nice.
Smoked mash.
How did that mash go?
Yeah, it was good.
Did you do it on the Conroe or in the Palmy?
I did it in the Weber.
Nice.
Because
spoke.
You just want to seal it in. Non-direct heat. Sumi bincho coals one end.
Wonderful.
Cast iron pan on the other with some mashed potato in it.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's a completely insane thing to do because it takes way longer than just regular mashed potatoes. But if you've got people coming over, you can convince your partner that it's less insane than it actually is. If
you're entertaining, it's worth the sort of effort.
Yeah.
I, like you, am on a journey, a love affair with mash. I've been working very, very hard on getting the perfect mashed potato. I feel like I may have achieved it now.
Yeah, it does look good.
It's very good. It's all about jacket potatoes in the oven to get them all nice and mushy. And then you scoop it out and you put it through a rice sieve and it gets super fine.
Yeah.
And then you add a block of butter.
Yeah.
1 block.
Yeah, if it's basically half butter, then it's good, isn't it?
Yeah. I still want to try Aligo. Have you had it?
Yeah.
The cheesy version of that.
It's a bit sort of gloopier.
Yeah, I need to figure out the science of that one. But one day.
Yeah.
Maybe when I've got guests around, I'll be able to convince Els to allow them to spend the time on it.
Nice. Well, I'll invite myself round.
Yeah, you can do. 2024, what a year.
Yeah, so it was a year where we did another all-day hay.
Yep, and you say we, but actually I wasn't there.
You weren't there. You were busy having a child.
Which was a challenge in itself, arguably harder than the conference, I'd argue.
Yeah, and me and Jack spent a lot of our time not being allowed into places we needed to get into with the stuff in the wrong place.
It's always good when you turn up at the venue at like 6 a.m. and they don't let you in.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll start today.
And they've heard of you. Who are these people?
Yeah. Here's an emergency contact number that doesn't work.
He's on holiday.
Which is a good start for you, right?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, we loved that. Jack especially, who's very calm and relaxed.
Hi, Jack. I think... to
be fair, we were quite calm and relaxed. It was just when it started to get towards the time that everyone needs to come in.
Yeah, which is quite an important part when attendees turn up and nothing's ready.
It's only so far. Some stickers and some coffee will take them. They actually want to do the event, don't they?
Welcome to registration. The event is not on today. But now I've got a huge thanks to you both for running that smoothly, along with Phil and James and the rest of the crew. I was made completely redundant. I wasn't needed at all, which was nice but strange.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, you were watching from home, weren't you?
I was. Yeah, I managed to come down for the last talk, which was fun just to see the end of it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to 25 being there again. It'll be nice, and we're going to run the conference in a similar fashion to last year. It'll be really good fun.
Nice.
Did you manage to watch many of the talks from 2024? Or
yeah, I did. Yeah, it was really good.
What was your highlight?
That's a good question. You've put me right on the spot.
You don't have to answer, it's fine.
I can't remember what my highlight was.
You're in the middle of running the conference, so that you're...
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always one of the tricky things whenever there's a conf on. You want to sit there and absorb the talk in its full glory, but you're also making sure that nothing else breaks, which is arguably the most important focus for the organizer.
Yeah, you're kind of watching like the teleprompter thing, the subtitles like a hawk, and like making sure that everything's all sort of...
Because the internet in the building is absolutely shite.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just like a complete dead zone, isn't it?
Never known anything like it, to be honest. But yeah, I was sad to miss a couple of talks. I was sad to miss Imran's, actually, which is what we closed on, which was all around the art of reflection. But I managed to see his talk at another FF Conf last year.
Oh, nice. Yeah, how was that?
Amazing. So I guess that leads well into sort of a year of good indie conferences, which is super nice to see. I've created amazing conference pals at all of the sort of indie conferences that are worth knowing, if you ask me, in the UK. You've got FF Conf, you've got WDC, you've got State of the Browser, you've got Pixel Pioneers. There's loads of really good indie comps in the UK. There are more. I just haven't been to many of them. But I think the fact that scene is kind of coming back and it's flourishing now, and we're seeing people start to want to go to these again is really encouraging. But it is still a tricky time for events.
Yeah, there's been a lot closed down, or not continuing in 2024 or 2025. But yeah, I think there's still a few good indie ones going, isn't there? I think those big sort of expo style events are just too much, and the content is poor.
Well, there's like 4 or 5 tracks over multiple days, and as you said, it feels like a dilution of the content.
There's a bit of a pay-to-play element sometimes as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Where, the people that have been given speaking slots that aren't the headline show, they're there as sponsors effectively, and they're basically selling products to you.
Yeah,
and you can tell.
Yeah, and also you've got so the challenge as well with multi-track and multi-day is getting the time off work. If you try to send like a big team, you don't want to send a big team for like 3 or 4 days off site. Well, maybe you do if it's relevant, but it's quite a big ask. The ticket prices for those bigger ones are pretty astronomical, to be honest, and pretty inaccessible to a lot of smaller companies who might want to send a team there. But also my issue is that there's been a few big conferences that just haven't delivered at all on their promise, and that makes it really hard for the smaller comps or for the indie comps to get sponsorship because it gives it a bad rap.
Yeah, that's it.
So I'm sort of really frustrated with, I can't remember which one was the big high profile failure. I don't even know if it was last year or the year before, that one that it was a female organizer that was sort of branding it as a women in tech sort of thing, but it went down really badly. She didn't invest in any of the diversity and inclusion stuff that she said the money was going on. Some big sponsors like Google and everyone else were involved, and
they pulled out and stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, it's just really frustrating because it's hard enough to get sponsorship as it is at the moment. And I think any opportunity to boost the profile of events is worth doing, but not when you've got people trying to abuse it for personal gain. Really, it's not great.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, so apart from the indie ones, you went to reInvent again?
I went to reInvent as a guest, which was really nice for them to have me again and pay for all the things, which is always very, really lovely. And MongoDB were very nice and let me in their lounge every day for breakfast and free drinks and stuff, which is always nice.
Well, I bet they regretted that almost immediately.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to see that on the bill. No, it's really good because they have that little lounge on the way to the big conference room, and you can just sort of dive in there and grab a bite to eat because it is quite expensive in Vegas, and the queue's massive. Yeah. So even if you want to just grab a sandwich, that's half an hour, 40 minutes. Everything's just a walk.
Was your hotel in the same space as the conf?
Yeah. So comp's over 4 or 5 casinos.
Nice.
And I was staying in the Venetian, which is sort of
heard of that one,
the main one.
It's fancy, isn't it?
It's quite fancy, yeah. Yeah. It's good conference. I kicked it off I was actually hosting an event in Leeds, and they dialed me in from outside the sphere.
Oh, no way.
And I did a little spiel about a project we're doing with Jude called Cool Rivers.
Yeah, of course.
So that was quite good. And this year I mostly focused on the keynotes and just spending a lot of time chatting with people. So there was these special sessions that you could drop in on, called Peer Talk.
Right.
So they're all centered around different topics, and you register your interest, and then because I'm an AWS hero, you get introduced as a hero, and then it's sort of like follows a format where everyone sort of describes what they do and what problems they're currently having, and then it's kind of like an open forum, like
nice,
just to try and unpick those problems.
And then
some people from AWS are like, "This is the AWS way to do it," and then other people are like, "Yeah, other ways as well."
Yeah, we'll buy that.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's because I guess. For companies that are fully invested in the AWS ecosystem, they just want to pick all the bits.
Yeah, where's the product in your lineup that I need to use to solve this problem?
Yeah, and the reason is simplified billing, right? But
yeah, I had a big issue with someone years ago about multi-cloud and how their view is that multi-cloud should be truly portable, and like you should be able to move workloads for anything across any cloud provider, which is I guess it's a vibe for some, but I really don't like the idea of being excluding really good products because there's not a multi-cloud alternative on GCP or something like that.
A multi-headache, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and the reality is, like, are you really going to move, unless you're a huge scale where like moving that many workloads around makes loads of sense all the time? It probably doesn't make sense to do that.
No, I don't think so. And sometimes you will want to pick a product from Microsoft, rarely, sometimes.
Maybe like ChatGPT or like some sort of...
Yeah, you might want to use Azure OpenAI service in Europe through Microsoft account.
And that might be the only thing you do.
And then you log immediately out of it, never touch it again, and only use the API key.
Go for a hot shower and never think about using anything again.
Whereas people that actually understand the cloud will pick AWS. Yeah.
Oh, that's a damning tagline.
It's true. They've got the biggest market share. They've got
they do have the best sort of lineup, I think, of products and services.
But they don't have the best AI offering at the moment, and they would readily admit that. They're pretty smart with Bedrock and stuff. But I assume that was quite a big topic of reInvent, though, right? Yeah, there was a lot of AI stuff, and a lot around. The non-AI stuff, which people are getting excited about, is their new distributed SQL. It's Postgres compatible.
Is that the Aurora?
It's called DSQL.
Okay. What's Aurora? Is that an older?
Aurora's their older version, yeah.
On RDS?
Yes, yeah. So DSQL is they distributed they've separated the storage and compute layers in a way where it works as well as DynamoDB, but you've got the smartness of SQL over the top.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty nuts.
Nice. Are you using it in any projects at the moment, or?
No, we're going to try it out, but it's basically a competitor to Google Spanner. I don't know if you heard of that.
No, I haven't heard of Google Spanner.
But it's like a 3 times faster version of that.
Nice.
Obviously, you've still got the speed of light problem, so when you've got multiple regions, it's still you still have to wait for it to sync, but it's good apparently. So it'll do all the compute at both sides, and then because they've done some clever stuff with atomic clocks and syncing and satellites, it's way above my head. But apparently, it just knows to sync up nicely. I don't really understand it.
Pretty clever though.
Sounds pretty clever.
Nice. Well, hopefully you can use it on a project soon.
But I think it's good. Good conference.
Nice.
But it has been a bit tough for tech this year, hasn't it?
I mean, there's the event challenge. I think around the lead up to All Day Hey 24, we talked about sort of the challenge with late buyers of tickets and just not knowing sort of how events are performing until the event's happening, and that's really stress-inducing for organisers, but also just really tricky in general to know whether you've got a sustainable event to run. And I think that's across the board. It's not just indie conferences, it's for everyone, unless you've got a really captive market, like you've got a corporate market that knows that every year they go to this conference because they're going to get a chance to sell, but also see talks and all that sort of stuff. But really weird time for that. Although it was really encouraging to see that All Day Hey was basically sold out last year, sorry. And
you've already sold your cheaper tickets.
Early
birds.
We did a bit of an experiment, didn't we? So we thought we'd try and capture the end of year budget sort of stuff, and we sold 40 odd tickets from that, which wouldn't usually shift at the end of the year in that way. And we're not a big conference. There's 250 odd tickets, or maybe a few less actually. And the fact that we're shifting a fifth of them already is pretty a pretty encouraging sign.
Yeah, and it means that they'll invite their colleagues and other people as well, doesn't it?
That's the hope, yeah. So if you are going to events this year in 25, please buy your tickets early because it will really help.
Yeah, and it means that then they can get a bit more confidence in what they're doing and go to sponsors and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, amazingly, this year the sponsors have offered the money upfront, and they've come to us, which is a real sign of trust and a real amazing sign of hopefully better things to come. But yeah, super amazing support from the sponsors, which I'm hugely grateful for.
Nice. And it's been a bit of an odd year for publishing platforms too, hasn't it?
It's weird time, isn't it? Like we were chatting about, you were saying you really missed CSS tricks and...
Yeah, I mean, I think they're still publishing the odd thing, but like a book apart and like the... Yeah,
I think I saw. Was it Chris Coy? I think I saw said something about regaining control of that, and he's now back involved with the project.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because I think he saw that, was it DigitalOcean just let it down its arse?
Yeah.
Now they basically said you can come back on board as a contributor. I can't remember the exact story. I should know it, but yeah, it's interesting that it's sort of he's gone. You're not looking after this. Can I help? Because it was a really valuable resource, and I know you mentioned the same with A List Apart and some of those other publishers.
Yeah, it just seems like that whole writing quality content for money for people to get published, that sort of went away a bit.
I think one of the things that I concluded was just the rise of tech influencers and the way in which, I think because of the whole DevX, those sort of roles that were cropping up at different companies, and you have the rise of the influencer who are now responsible for teaching people how to do these things. Like, I remember in the early days, Jay, who was one of the speakers in the 23 conference, or maybe a bit earlier actually, maybe 22. He was doing loads of really cool Twitter demos showing different techniques with CSS and things like that. And I think that replaced a lot of these bigger publications for people because it was a person they could talk to and ask questions about things. And I'm really excited to see Andy Bell's bringing Piccalilli back with full force, with like paid learning.
Yeah, it looks really good, the front end sort of guide. Yeah.
Really good. What's it called? I should know. CSS something. Oh, sorry, Andy. I'll remember in a second. But yeah, we've bought a few copies for the team. And you're going to help me now with your Googling skills.
Yeah. So Complete CSS.
Thank you. Sorry, Andy. So Complete CSS is a cracking sort of front end guide to building really nice sites, and it's only 250 quid, I think, last time I checked.
Nice. Yeah, looks like it. 250.
But yeah, it's just really nice. You sort of go through building this website with them, and it's just a really nice journey.
Because I remember his talk was quite demonstrational as well. It was like he'd written the talk in CSS.
Yeah,
it was all responsive and stuff, and he got people to try it on their phones. And it's quite good.
He's a great speaker as well. So looking forward to seeing more from Andy. But yeah, I'm really excited that Piccalilli's sort of making a comeback and he's investing more in that area of learning, which is cool.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's just that, I think the influencer side of the tech world is pretty strong at the moment. So I think it was you I was chatting to about the sort of hipsterness of promotion and branding in like this space. So you've got Jason, Learn with Jason. Do you follow?
Yes,
Jason?
Yeah.
So like he's doing amazing stuff with video content, a big YouTube series, loads of really interesting formats like Compete Against the Clock and stuff like that. And I just think that's a really engaging way for like new young developers to learn. And it's a generational thing. We were talking about TikTok being super relevant, right?
Yeah. Well, developers aren't on Twitter anymore, so where are they going? And what we see is the younger generation who aren't developers.
Yeah.
They are now, aren't they? So
yeah, they all are. Yeah, everyone's a techie these days because it's so accessible, and that's a good thing, right? It is a super good thing.
It is a super good thing, but there is some challenging stuff in technical service agencies, consultancies. I think especially marketing focused consultancies and agencies are struggling quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like there is more supply than demand. And you've got companies like Hedgehog trying to, although they've had rounds of redundancies and stuff, they've been buying up smaller outfits to try and keep that pace of growth while actually having to shrink each sort of acquisition, if you like. So you can either do that, which if you've got excess capital is probably a good idea, or reduce headcount.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's weird because about a year and a half ago, I moved from doing full-time consultancy to taking this chief technology officer job at Glean. And one of the reasons I did that is actually the consultancy world was becoming a lot more difficult to get the sort of work that I was really interested in.
Yeah.
A long time ago, you used to be able to just get like really good chunky projects to stick your like teeth into and to work really closely with these like sort of companies. And I think there's been a lot of effort to distance like companies from consultancies and agencies because they've been burned, or because the sort of quality of some agencies out there isn't quite as high as it used to be, because it's a saturated market.
Yeah, well, it used to be that people didn't know how to perform some of the things they needed to do. They didn't know how to build the things that needed to be built, or there wasn't those skill sets there. So for some consultancies, it was almost like you could chuck a barrel over the side of a boat and bring it in, and there's always fish in there, because there's always that demand. And now it's not enough to know how to do it. It has to be, you have to know why you're doing it. It has to be done cost effectively. You have to have sort of Gen AI in mind as well.
Do you think this is something to do with the fact that it's so accessible? You know, like low and no code solutions, and being able to do some of these things and string pieces together is a lot more common internally now in organizations that niche is gone?
I think it's a few compounding things. I think it's we sort of put off a massive sort of Great Depression style economic disaster in COVID by just printing loads of cash and pumping it into the economy and furlough and all the rest of it. And it made a huge surge of tech jobs.
Yeah.
And this is just the adjustment of that, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were chatting about Opus AI, which is that video editing stuff. And it's like, actually, there are tools as well that are sort of making some of these jobs seem a lot less relevant. I'm not saying they are, because actually I think there's still a huge skill and creative aspect to those jobs. But I think it's interesting how you're getting these sort of AI startups popping up claiming to replace or automate that part of the workforce, which is why everyone's freaking out about AI too, right?
Yeah, so they sort of play into each other, don't they? So when there isn't loads of cash being spent from government or big companies, these AI tools then start to pick up steam, and people trying to do more with less, and it's cyclical, isn't it? So it comes in waves.
It's cyclical, but I guess the challenge is still to diversify or struggle in that new world. And like sometimes diversification means going full circle. And you know, like if you'd done 10 years ago, like if you'd suggest everyone build static sites, and like static sites are the way forward, like you'd probably been laughed at, because you know it was all about dynamically generated pages and content and CMSs, and like maybe not 10 years ago.
Now going back to basics a bit.
You're like, hey, have you heard of this static HTML?
Yeah, and you can stick it on an S3 bucket and it costs you 1 pence.
It's really fast. And and you know, that's why the rise of, you know, Netlify and Vercel and all the other big hosts is sort of going that route. It's really interesting. I mean, everything is cyclical, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we need to focus on is like delivering actual value and making sure that we can actually create software that people need and want. And there has been a lot of bloat, I think, probably.
Yeah.
Gen AI is almost certainly a bubble, but what's different from the other bubbles for me is that it is actually useful. It's not like the .com boom where they were like, the internet's going to change everything, and they're like, well, yeah, but not that much and not that quickly. It's maybe similar in that respect. Yeah. Maybe it will change everything, but the impact will be 10-20% productivity gains rather than 1,000. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. It just needs the dust to settle a little bit to see those more useful implementations like lasting the test of time instead of being gimmicky.
Well, the problem is there's a lot of shit out there. There's a load of transcription services, which you know because you've been testing them all.
Yeah.
And Assembly AI is up there, like as one of the best.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them are completely shite.
Yeah.
And the things that power popular meeting transcription tools, like Fireflies, the stuff built into Teams, all that kind of stuff. They're all shockingly bad. So they're giving AI a bad name. They're like, oh, well, it doesn't really work, so we'll just wait.
Yeah.
When the model that does work is sat there gathering dust.
Yeah.
And it can be run relatively cheaply.
I guess the challenge with that is there's no real way to quickly understand whether something really works or not. You have to use it in anger. Like, you sent me Whisper Flow the other day, and you're like, the quality of how this understands the structure of what you're saying and how it transcribes is super tight.
Head and shoulders above anything that you could ever try.
And I've started using it. I've started using it in Slack for responses and all sorts. It's great.
But to get people to try it who've already been burnt by one of the shit ones, good luck.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I guess some people they don't get burned twice, right? And they lose that trust very quickly.
Same thing with people that have had some exposure to early ChatGPT. They're like, oh well, it hallucinates. It's not right.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't use it in work.
Yeah.
You're like, well, actually, there's loads of techniques that can fix that.
Yeah.
But
also, do you believe everything that comes up on the first hit of Google? Well,
no.
A lot of people do.
Well, yeah.
No.
Well, Google was telling pregnant women to eat rocks or something, wasn't it? But that was another AI feature that went out too early.
We knew rocks aren't good for you.
No, eat 5 rocks a day or something, wasn't it? I can't remember.
I remember well. So speaking of tech fuck-ups, it would be rude not to talk about CrowdStrike's global fuck-up in 24.
Yeah, well, I think we talked about this at the time, but I was in Seattle when the CrowdStrike
trying to do a travel.
Yeah, well, I was actually stood outside Microsoft HQ taking a photo of myself, and then I went to sleep, and then got a load of text messages saying, "Rio, what the hell have you done?" Yeah. And half the Windows computers in the world went down.
And it was something so simple, wasn't it? Like there's a file that caused a sort of corruption during an update in Microsoft, right?
So CrowdStrike have got a file that gets loaded to figure out what to block, and they just hadn't tested it, and they just pressed the button.
Can you believe like the blast radius of that was just so incredible?
Oh my god! It was all the AWS heroes trying to fly back from Seattle. All their internal flights were cancelled.
Mad.
But thankfully, BA don't use Windows computers for anything critical, so I got home. Which it's kind of reassuring, isn't it?
I guess so. Yeah. It was also a good example of like how true misinformation like spreads, because I remember in the early hours everyone was talking about it being a huge hack, and everyone's like bank accounts were screwed, and misinformation was rife. And then you realise, oh, it's just this fucking CrowdStrike thing that's knackered everything. Yeah,
they had a stand at reInvent, a massive stand, and there was nobody at it. So yeah, they're gonna struggle, aren't they?
Just a stand full of very tired-looking people. Please buy our stuff. So we've already sort of touched on AI a bit, but like it'd be rude not to talk about AI as part of 24.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing that happened this year is structured outputs or constrained sampling. So to use AI in any kind of automation or flow, you need it to output clean JSON that matches a schema. And so OpenAI went down the route of, well, what if we only let the AI pick the next token if it made valid JSON? And actually that turned out to be a really good idea. So now that is possible in all the other models. So OLLAMA, which is like a really quick way to run a bunch of models locally, they've shipped constrained sampling for structured outputs. So Llama 3.3, which you can run on your laptop, which feels about as good as GPT-4 early versions were, which is nuts. And it'll output JSON. So there's a load of use cases that you could do.
And do you think is this quite an important component for these sort of truly connected systems where we're not having to clumsily sort of parse output and pass it into new prompts and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, you still need to compose everything down into smaller prompts, but yeah, it's a big step. And the fact that everyone's kind of copying everyone else when they find something that works, the speed of change and the speed of progress is just getting quicker and quicker. Because as soon as one person does it, they're like, oh, obviously that direction, and everyone follows.
Awesome.
So I'm pretty excited by it. The one thing I'm not super hyped about is agents, where so things like LangGraph and LangChain, they build these big complex flows where they've got an idea of one agent being able to talk to another agent, and they all do individual things. It sounds great when you're writing a paper, but from a software point of view, it's a fucking nightmare. And actually, you just want small composable functions that run one after another or in parallel. Stop thinking about it as people. Just think about it as code. And stop sexing it up. It is just code.
Yeah, they've got to put a PR spin on it, haven't they?
Yeah, but you don't want fucking chatbots chatting to each other about and have their own internal state, and absolute nightmare to debug, and it costs more and it's less good. So
I mean, what are the advertised benefits for agents? What's the sort of
more money for companies that build agents?
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, that's my sort of jaded.
I think we'll move on from agent
before I start smashing stuff out.
Can see you visibly getting more upset.
Although there is one agent thing that does work, which is Cursor Agent.
Okay.
So Cursor IDE have released agent mode.
You've been hyping me up about this for a long time.
Oh my god! Yeah. Cursor IDE with Claude 3.5 is basically magic.
Okay. You can show me after this.
But yeah, it will. You ask it something and it'll start. It can create new files. It can edit existing ones. It can do it in batches. It can test its own work.
Nice.
It's good. I would recommend.
I will have a look. Sassy was saying SASS was in danger. Do you agree?
No, I don't think I agree. I think SaaS companies that are taking the piss are probably in danger. Like Salesforce, potentially. Companies that are banked on needing everything to be in this big structured database that you have to bend over and pay whatever for every year. Yeah. I think they'll start to struggle.
Or they need to look at new ways to innovate, to establish themselves in this new world where they have strong integrations and they are market leaders in that space.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Salesforce won't die next year or in 5 years or in 10, but companies like Klarna have threatened and then built internal systems that replace, let's say, 5% of what Salesforce can do. And that's the only bit that they use. Yeah. You could see more of that happening.
I hope they die. I'm still upset about what they did to Heroku.
They were advertising on the Sphere, Heroku.
Really?
Heroku by Salesforce.
Wow. They're not going to die, are they?
I don't know.
I'm as upset about that as you are about Google Reader.
You're trying to wind me up today.
Okay, I won't pull that thread. Anything else noteworthy to cover?
On the AI front, just this Adobe Podcast tool. They've got V2 of enhanced speech, which is absolutely nuts.
I think this might be what Chris, our editor, has used to reduce the toastiness on our podcast.
Yeah, sometimes I've eaten some dry toast.
And Chris has just worked his magic. I think it might be using that enhanced speech stuff.
But there's a little podcast WhatsApp community thing, which you should join, actually.
And podcast friends.
And someone was just posted a little clip. All she wanted to do is remove a beep that happened roughly every 10 seconds.
Right, that sounds very annoying.
And I stuck it through Enhanced Speech V2, and the whole thing just sounded amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
The beep's gone, obviously, but it doesn't sound like it's... Yeah.
That is good.
Someone speaking into the bottom of a phone in a echoey room.
I do think it's... all this sort of audio cleaning stuff's come so far, and I think that quality of the different thing you sent me.
It's absolutely nuts. And yeah, the whole stem splitting stuff,
yeah, that's mad.
Like 10 years ago, that's like uncooking an egg, completely impossible.
You'd be like, what is this voodoo? Yeah.
And it does invent the stuff that's not there, not able to, but then. Yeah, and then it tests to mix it back together or something. I don't know. It's nuts.
It is nuts. It is good, though.
It's good.
Very clever.
Very, very clever.
So, yeah, thanks, Chris, for bearing with the toastiness. Yeah, you sent me, I think we mentioned Whisper Flow, but it's definitely worth a look. Their transcription quality is exceptional.
Yeah, really good. And I assume it's based on OpenAI's Whisper model. Souped up of it.
If not, they're about to get sued to shit.
Yeah. Well, they changed the domain name to Flow Voice, but the product's still product title still says Whisper Flow, so
pretty sure it's using Whisper.
Yeah.
If not, that's a real issue.
Yeah.
But yeah. What else happened in 24?
We got a new Ruby on Rails.
Yep, I'm excited so every Christmas a new Ruby version drops. We had 3.4, I think it was dropping. And yeah, Ruby on Rails 8, as you said. New year, same DHH,
Nice.
which is good. Yeah, everyone loves DHH.
He's still pushing some opinionated things, isn't he?
He is, and I hope he has fun with it.
The thing is about framework authors is they need to be a bit like that.
They do. I think the problem is sometimes he goes a bit too far and verges into complete nutter.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't actually played with Kamal 2 yet, but that's their bare metal deployment thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's been loads of good advancements in that space. I assume Laravel's probably following hot on the heels of some of that stuff, right?
But they just got a bunch of investments. They're launching Laravel Cloud.
Oh, nice. Which interesting.
I assume is not a million miles off.
So that's going to be like Netlify over Cell for Laravel.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Could be interesting.
That's exciting.
But yeah, we got a new Laravel as well. Laravel 11. Yeah, good solid framework.
You love it, don't you?
I quite like it. My default would be TypeScript Next.js.
Okay, nice.
At the moment. Because all the AI tooling's there. It's, yeah. And the two languages at the moment are TypeScript and Python, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. They're the hottest at the moment. Yeah, nice. And I'm super excited for Deno.
Yeah.
So Deno is where the fantastic MC of All Day Hey, Phil, has gone to.
Nice. Yeah.
He's loving life there. They've got some really exciting stuff in the pipeline. Super cool company. They've spanked loads on an amazing ad that's just come out.
So Deno are up against a few other competitors like Bun. Bun is basically WebKit Node, effectively.
Yeah.
So it's V8. I don't know which engine Deno is.
I think it's like it's a fork of Node, but with loads of additional security stuff on, isn't it? Or is it? It's not a rewrite from the ground up, I don't believe, because it is Node compatible, and there's a lot of like, for example, if you want to use Next out of the box, you can use it with Deno. So
nice.
I think it does stem from Node, but I think the idea is that it works around a lot of the flaws where you can just install a package from npm and it fucks everything.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes, actually, because for a long time we've sort of tolerated reasonably bad runtime quirks, and a lot of the competitors haven't really fixed that. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, I remember back when we didn't have Node.js and there's like Jaxa and stuff like that, which is like some sort of Mozilla Rhino based thing. It was awful.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole industry in itself for this stuff, right? It's like it's not going anywhere, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think TypeScript and the whole community around it, I think it is growing up a bit. I think it is becoming a lot more serious. The tooling's getting a lot quicker. You don't feel like you're getting in dependency hell as much. Hasn't completely fixed itself, but yeah, we're getting there, aren't we?
I think so. And you were interested in the new React Native release.
Yeah, so there was this horrible bridge method that it used to use. So when you're talking from the native UI end to the JavaScript end, so how it used to run is you basically have Safari running with your JavaScript application, and it would serialize everything into this big horrible JSON blob. You'd fire it over this bridge, and then it would create the native UI components based on that, which works pretty well, except when there's a lot of information running through, and then that's when your frame rate drops.
Right.
So they've replaced all that with JSI, so you can have something huge in sort of like native land and reference it from JavaScript and like step through it or process it and like, interact with it. And yeah, vice versa. So you don't have to like move these objects from one place to another. You can sort of operate on them as if they were in the same place.
Nice.
Yeah, so it means you can do stuff like real-time video processing and really silky smooth animation stuff.
Which was a lot of people's gripes for React Native in the early days, right?
Yeah, so all the gripes that people had, I think, are gone now.
Nice.
And I would recommend React Native over anything else.
It's always good when you're still recommending something years after you've committed to it.
Yeah, and we have been through some tough times with React Native. I've had some horrible bits and pieces to patch out of libraries and stuff, but overall, it's better than writing your app twice in Swift and Kotlin.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because
you're just, fighting twice as many battles.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, no, I would stick with it. And new architecture makes it good, which, that's a name they're going to regret in 6 months.
Nice.
When new architecture comes out. Or
new V2, final
_ no, this one.
Yeah, let's see how that lasts the test of time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was the year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a good year full of new releases, AI, lots of interesting stuff going on in IRL and also online. Really interested to see what happens with BlueSky, actually. We talked a bit about the sort of the way that the tech community has been this year. I'm really interested to see where the social platform stuff goes because X is obviously a hellfire. I just can't be there anymore. I think it seems like there's been a good mass migration to BlueSky, and I'm really enjoying the community there. So I'm hoping that stays around.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just getting into it, but I like it already.
Yeah. It's just like Twitter used to be, which is not a bad thing.
Just all the nerds.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. That was our 2024. So I'm looking forward to 25.
Awesome. And thanks for joining us.
All right. See you next time.
Bye. That's all we've got time for today. Thanks for joining us for the 2024 Developer Roundup, and hit subscribe.